married with 5 children and also is a bass player in a rock band. Julian, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a great afternoon so far, and look forward to the rest of the day. We're going to talk about some stories, going to blend a little bit of science and spirituality. After a big lunch and so forth, I'm going to try to make it interactive. So have some exercises to do. Promise nobody will get hurt. It'll be a good time. So, but before I begin, I just want to say namaste. Namaste, namaste. Does anybody know what that word means?
Basically, the divine in you welcomes the divine in me, vice versa.
Perfect. I first heard that word when I took up yoga maybe 20 years ago. I was a competitive runner, kind of was running myself into the ground but didn't realize it. I started getting all sorts of muscle aches and so forth and just wasn't balanced. You know, I was push. Friends suggested I try yoga and really enjoyed how I felt afterwards. You probably know my favorite pose, right? The corpse pose afterwards, total relaxation. So in that blissful state, the teacher would say namaste, and I had no idea what it meant, but I loved the way it felt, you know. So the divine light in me honors and sees the divine light in you. That's what the teacher told me that meant. Earlier, the presenter was talking about being a beacon and being a lighthouse, and light seems to be a theme. And you know, what is that light that we're honoring? It's like from a metaphysical standpoint, it's a spirit, it's your soul, it's something. Any of you have children? Remember when you saw your child's eyes and you could see the spark, right? And there is something ineffable about us, right? And I was there when my dad passed away, and I was there when the light faded to black, right? So when we're alive, we're emitting, and we can notice that light, that divine spark. From a scientific standpoint, light is a form of electromagnetic energy. And I tend to operate in the intersection between science and spirituality. So I'm not preaching any particular spiritual belief or anything like that, but there is an animating energy in everything in this universe. So again, the divine light in me honors the divine light in you, thanks to that unknown yoga instructor all those years ago. I love this quote by Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. More and more as we study, we see that the universe is really made of nothing but energy. What we used to think is empty space is now known as dark energy. So Tesla was onto something, obviously. He's been recognized as perhaps the world's greatest electrical engineer. Thanks to him, the lights, the modern electrical system, all that comes from his teaching. The car is named in his honor, right? He's an unsung hero amongst electrical engineers. I'm an electrical engineer, so bear with me. If anybody engineers out here? Couple? All right. Nice to see you. Namaste. So again, that intersection of energy is something that I'm very intrigued with. I went to Clemson. Go Tigers. Any Tigers fans? Anyway, I studied electrical engineering, went to work for electric utilities, worked in Florida designing power transmission circuits and so forth, and became a recognized electrical energy expert. I was a professional engineer. So I knew how the external energy world works, right? That's what I did for a living, and I'm still in the energy business today from a employment standpoint, but what I'm talking about is more on the spiritual side. But I hope to bring these together and to show you the power that you have, and more importantly, to be able to use tools and techniques to do more with your life. So earlier, we talked about the crucibles. I can relate to that, and I'll share a little bit about that. So my life, I was going along as a professional engineer. Life was good, going according to my plan, right? I got married, had 2 kids, had a big house, making good money. Life seemed perfect. And then about 2006, I had my first crucible when my older daughter nearly died, and that sort of rocked my world. and loved my children more than anything, and I was powerless to help her, and it was just, I didn't know what to do. So I went through that period, and while her care was very, very expensive, insurance didn't cover a lot, so it was financially draining, emotionally draining. I used to work for Progress Energy. That company is now part of Duke Energy. They decided to shut down the unregulated side of the business. That's where I worked. It was kind of power trading, so that it was kind of the risky side of the business. So I had a sick child. I was going to be losing my job. I was going to have to move or do something. It was around the time of the Great Recession, so job prospects didn't look so good. So it was very hard for me. And then at that same time, the next year, my marriage of 17 years disintegrated. So I had lost pretty much all the things that I identified with at the time. So I went through 3 crucibles in a pretty short succession, which was very difficult. And as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of a type A guy, which drove me to yoga. And I didn't really know how to take care of myself and manage my own energy. I mistakenly thought, well, I can just keep pushing. Drink more coffee. If you need to wake up, drink more coffee, right? Then I get wired up during the day, and I couldn't sleep at night, right? So I have a couple of glasses of wine, which means I don't sleep as well, which means I need more coffee the next day. And so I was living this kind of vicious cycle. And I went through that and kind of had to start from the beginning, just focusing on my breath. Needless to say, I was able to transcend all of those circumstances and made it through to the other side. And much like the story of Job in the Bible, I've been rewarded. I've got 3 more children now. I've remarried, doing fine, financially and so forth. And so I really just want to share what I've learned, anchored from a energy, more from a scientific standpoint, in the hope that it can help you so you don't have to go through what I did. So that's kind of the notion here. And topic today is about flow, and a lot of things we'll be doing have multiple meanings, right? So flow is one of those multiple meaning things. Flow of electrons is electricity. So the standard definition is flow is a steady, continuous stream of something. But I like this, and then Brett and I like this particular definition from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. That's a mouthful. He's the father of positive psychology and around the notion of flow, the psychology of optimal experience. I like to call it the zone. It's really where you're not thinking, you're totally immersed in the moment, and life seems to flow effortlessly, but you're doing amazing things. And that to me is kind of the peak performance state that I want to spend more of my life in. And I'm committed to try to find out how to spend as much of time as I can in that state. So here's a little story time, Hindu legend. Once upon a time, all of mankind, we were gods. We had the power of gods, but apparently we were misbehaving. So Brahma wanted to call an emergency meeting and take away our divinity. Wasn't sure where he could put it, though. They talked about putting it at the bottom of the ocean. They talked about putting it at the top of the mountains, trying to find a hiding place. And eventually they said that they would put it somewhere where humans would never look, and that's deep inside of them. I know for me, earlier in my life, I looked to the outside world for fulfillment, for validation, and for my sense of worth, but I learned the true sources really from within and that divine light. So to cultivate that divine light and then to let that light shine. So with that, we had a little story. It's time for a little movie clip. Hopefully. No sound? There's not really much going on right here. Have you guys seen Bruce Almighty? The Snap song, I've Got the Power, is playing. You can see him kind of mouthing. It really is much better with sound. I think we'll have replays and so forth. So there's a slide at the end that has my contact information on it. So if you want it, if you haven't seen it, I'll gladly send it to you because it's worth the price of admission. So this animating force, we have that power and it flows through us. I took up Kung Fu. I did yoga, I did Kung Fu, and so took Tai Chi. Did anybody do Tai Chi? You seem to be doing everything I am. It's great. So, cultivating your chi and to feel that. And in other traditions for prana, that FF is really not supposed to be FF. I had a little omega sign. This is something. The character here on the right from Mortal Kombat, Raiden, is like the guy that's always there at the end of the rounds, and he uses his little electric ball to blast you. Again, we don't quite have that, but what I want to do right now is a couple of exercises with you to let you get in touch with your power, okay? So if you would please stand up. I know that feels good. Maybe kind of just stretch out a little bit. Kind of let your arms go. We're just going to raise our arms and lower them just twice, okay? So up and down. Good. And up and down. All right. Everybody feel good? So what I want you to do is to take your hands kind of cupped like this and get your nails and rub your nails back and forth together. I can hear them. That's great. Yep. So kind of the cuticles is where you can go back and forth, generate a little bit of heat. Let's do this for maybe a few more seconds, okay? I appreciate your participation. Okay, now what I want you to do is imagine you're making a snowball, but don't touch your hands together and then bring them apart. You should probably feel like a little magnet in between your hands. Do you feel that? Pretty strong? So you can just kind of take your hands apart, cup, and then bring them back together. You'll feel that little magnetic pull, kind of roll it, pull it apart. So see, you're getting in touch with your personal power. All right, give yourself a big hand. Okay, wait, stay standing, please. So now that we're there, what I'd like you to do is to balance on one foot. Just kind of keep your arms by your side. Everybody, they got that? Now close your eyes. You fell. What happened? You guys, you try it again with your eyes open. Good. Now close your eyes. Boom, boom. All right, so you had the balance, but something happened. You closed your eyes and you lost your balance, right? And that's kind of what happens to us in life, that there's so many things that we're not aware of that knock us off of balance, right? So we've got that energy, but something happens and kind of knocks us off and we may not be aware of it. So I mentioned about sleep and the need for recovery and just managing our energy. So, okay, thank you very much. Please have a seat. So now we've had those experiments to kind of get in touch with our power. Purpose of the afternoon is just to give you a few exercises on 3 key areas that I think will help manage your energy. I like alliteration. Do you like alliteration too? So they're bed, breath, and billions. And this will all make sense here in a little bit. This famous quote from Benjamin Franklin, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And maybe we need to be careful of pronouns and so forth. But, I started waking up early at 5 o'clock in the morning and running, to get more done, right? Remember those Army commercials, be all you can be, and get up and do more before 9, before people do, their whole day and that sort of stuff. There's the 5 a.m. miracle, and Jocko Willink, anybody know who he is? He gets up at 4:30 in the morning, it's like, just go, 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 you get more done. There was an old adage that said, like, you could sleep when you die. The unfortunate thing is that if you're not sleeping, you will die. It's very needed, and I learned that the hard way when I was in the midst of my dark night of the soul. I call that, my crucible is a dark night. My light was very dim. I didn't have much flow in my life at that time. I couldn't sleep. I was a nervous wreck. But the rest now, having come through on the other side, is so important. It's something that's why I put it first. That if you don't feel like your energy is going that well, then look at how you're sleeping. Getting up early is fine, but it's that other part of going to bed early, right? I kind of shortchanged that, just thinking I just get up earlier and I get more done, right? So does anybody need an alarm clock to wake up? So if you raise your hand, you're probably not getting enough sleep. And everything that goes on in our lives is all individual, so depending on what works for you, you can experiment, kind of start working backwards. So if you think you need 7 hours, do the math, try to go to bed. But part of this is that you have to give yourself time to wind down. I came out of my dark night and I felt like I had seen the light. And so I wrote a book called Let Go, Let It Flow. And that's how I met Brett. I'm in the process of releasing 4 more books to kind of complement that initial one. And this is the one that I'm working on right now called The Power of Presence. Part of that is just a little snippet of this, what I call my sleep formula. So I'll kind of go through this quickly. We're talking about schedule. So important to give yourself enough time to get the rest that you need, but to wind down. I like to take about 30 minutes in the morning, to kind of get going. Same thing, you just can't hop in bed and expect to fall asleep. So it's important to be mindful of that and to also look out for when you have caffeine, right? It'll keep you awake. So that caffeine has a half-life, so you want to make sure that you allow that to process. We're very sensitive to light. There were studies that people had just an LED taped to the back of their knee under covers. There was no other light, and just that little light underneath someone's knee was enough to disrupt their sleep. Our cells are powered by mitochondria, which are very sensitive to light. And so our natural cue is to wake up when the sun comes up and to go to sleep when the sun goes down. But our modern life, thanks to Mr. Tesla and other electrical engineers like me, we have all these wonderful inventions, but they fool ourselves into thinking that it's light, that it's daylight, even when we should be getting tired. So there are other things that you can do, wearing blue blocker sunglasses. These glasses that I'm wearing right now protect me from blue light from computers. They have blue blockers. A lot of research going into the dangers of too much artificial light exposure. But these are all sleep disruptors to be mindful of. The environment, we want to sleep in a cold environment. Now, I'm from an energy efficiency background, so I may say something that's a little contrary to other things. They recommend keeping your house at 78 degrees. Well, that's too warm really to sleep, right? Ideal sleep temperature is 68 to 72. So, if it's too hot, you're not going to get a good night's rest. You can buy little things called a chili pad to put in your bed that keeps chilled water. My wife and I, we just keep our house cold. So I pay more for my electric bill, but my sleep's worth it. I'm committed to that, so I pay the price. With environment, having background noise, we're primed to wake up, survival instinct, so we want to make sure that we have a masking. Your partner snores, this other things, earplugs, so really kind of create that optimal sleep environment. But most importantly, the psychology. So this is the P of my sleep formula. Sleep is not a hindrance, it's something that you should really invest in. It'll pay incredible dividends. Think about our cell phones, they don't go long, you have to plug them in. We're no different. When it will pay back multifold in terms of improvements to your life if you invest in your sleep. So that is the bed. Now we'll move into the breath as the next linkage. Our breath is a reflection of what's going on in our life. This quote here by the Thich Nhat Hanh: breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites your body to your thoughts. Whenever your mind becomes scattered, use your breath as the means to take hold of your mind again. Typically, when we get stressed out, we start breathing shallowly, kind of pant. We're not aware of it. Again, like when we fell over, we kind of closed our eyes. You're not really consciously aware of how you're breathing unless you take stock and notice, right? So, but breath is another tool that you can utilize to change your state. By actively focusing on our breath, we can change our physiology. And so I have another little exercise. It won't take but maybe 3 minutes to do. I was telling Neely about this. This is box breathing. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah, so again, pranayama is breathing techniques and so forth. It's ancient, but the Navy SEALs, this is where I heard of it. They use this breathing in their missions, right? And you can imagine the stress that they're under. And what happens under stress, your prefrontal cortex shuts down. You don't think well when you're under stress, right? So they need a way to be able to regulate their physiology, and they utilize the breath as that way. You can do breathing techniques to energize yourself, to kind of make yourself dizzy. You've seen Tony Robbins and his priming techniques where he breathes rapidly through his nose. He's oxygenating himself. There's another guy, Wim Hof, who does breathing techniques and subjects himself to cold and does all sorts of crazy feats. But what we're going to do is this box breathing, if I can get this set up here. It's pretty simple. Respiration of 4 equal parts. The idea that you're going to inhale for X amount of time, hold for X amount of time, exhale for X amount of time, hold again for X, and then repeat it. So we're just going to do some rounds of that. But before that, is anybody worried about anything right now? Any stress in your life? You got some stress? Yeah? So are you thinking about it yet?
Yes, as soon as you said.
Okay. So I want you to spend a little more time thinking about whatever that is. I've got a proposal that's due on Monday. My daughter's trying to fly to California, so I'm thinking about that stuff, right? It's kind of back there. So just indulge me, just whatever it is, think about whatever kind of stuff that you're dealing with that's like stressing you out. And really think about it now and see if you can tell if something's changing with you, your heart rate, your breathing, anything like that. Just kind of get a minute while I get this app loaded up. So what you're going to hear, just follow the instructions. She's going to say inhale, and you're going to hold and exhale. And we're going to just kind of do a crude before and after. So trying to give you a sense of the difference between these two.
Breathe in.
Everybody hear that? Breathe in.
Hold.
And hold.
Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in.
This will take about 3
Hold.
minutes.
Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in.
Just a few more.
Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold.
Okay, that'll be enough for now. So do you feel any different? Hopefully you do. Calmer? Whatever was stressing you out before is not as much. Feel like you have a little more control. And what I love about that is really simple to use, and you can use it at any time. I was telling Eli that I use it when I come home from work as a transition. It helps my breathing, and it helps my mental state. It's just a nice transition, and the traffic on 40, coming into Raleigh from where I am is not as bad. I actually enjoy the time. So box breathing. And again, the link that you'll get at the end of this, you can go to my website and you'll have these tools and tactics. There's a free app. So there's tons of breathing activities that you can do. But breath is really such an easy way to control your physiology and your mind. Now we'll move on to the billions, right? That's why we're here. I don't care how much power, brilliance, or energy you have, if you don't harness it and focus it on a specific target and hold it there, you're never going to accomplish as much as your ability warrants. Light, when it's concentrated, becomes a laser. And the same is with our energy. When we focus our efforts, we can do amazing things. But unfortunately, we're distracted. There are a lot of different things. Maybe we didn't get a good night's rest, so we're not at our peak. But if we can focus and harness our attention and our efforts and make progress, we can do amazing things. That's an interesting logo. That's not the way it looked like before. So that is an interesting little logo there. But so what we're going to talk about is the balance. I'm going to introduce a technique, a Pomodoro Technique. Is anybody familiar with that?
Oh, yeah.
All right, 1, 2. Who can tell me what Pomodoro means?
Tomato.
Okay. You, sir, have won a tomato timer. See me afterwards.
It's unfair, I'm gonna tell you.
Ah, it's true. Okay. Well, if you want to disqualify yourself. But this little tomato timer. So the Pomodoro Technique takes that idea of a tomato timer in a kitchen, and so the idea is that you work for a specific period of time, and it starts off maybe 25 cycles. So whatever it is that you're doing, say you've got a report that you're working on, that's all you're going to do for 25 minutes, nothing else. You're going to put your phone on silent, no other notifications, close your door, and you invest your entire focus and attention on just that one single task. And then at the end of that 25 minutes, an alarm goes off, and then you take a 5-minute break. And then you repeat until the 4th cycle. You take a longer break, maybe like a 20-minute break. Get outside, walk around. I love that because you get the intense focus, but then you get the rest. You get to get up, move around, allow your mind a chance to think and maybe come up with new ideas and so forth. But I find it to be an optimal work process. Those of you who use it, do you use it regularly during your work days or as much as you can?
As much as I can. I mean, sometimes like the most intense, I did like 13 cycles in a row, and I was exhausted the next day, but I got so much done that I try to do a couple cycles a day, and that's more than enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got that high.
That was the one time in my life.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's 2 or
It's a
3
lot of
cycles.
focus.
Yeah.
So I wrote.
How did you define rest, Eli, in that 5 minutes? What did you do to rest?
I close my eyes,
Close your
or
eyes, okay.
I even sometimes I check my text messages, or because all the notifications are off, as you say. So then, but I used a Pomodoro timer on my iPhone, so it would beep, and then for that 5 minutes, I'd like do message or just relax or breathe. Actually.
Yeah. This is a great work technique, but again, you're focusing that effort, and you're getting more done. So ostensibly, you could finish up your work faster to spend time at home. to be able to have more of a work-life balance.
It ties in directly with all the myth of multitasking
Exactly.
that we have in this world. There is no real multitasking. We're so much less productive when we're multitasking.
I think that it's like 28 to 30% waste every time you do task switching, that it could take several minutes, like 20 minutes or so, just to get back to the state of flow where you were, if ever, right? The colleague comes, the boss comes, but with the Pomodoro Technique, one thing that's so nice is that 25 minutes, the boss can wait. Somebody can generally, I mean, unless there's an emergency, literally, life or death, then
Hey, Julian, I use it to do things I don't want to do.
okay, that works too.
Because it forces you to focus on it.
Well, again, that discipline, but it's taking advantage of our physiology to do what it is we want to do. So you're concentrating that energy and effort in the most productive way. So the Pomodoro Technique, I use online apps. They're on the phone, they're desktop, and again, the website will have that. So in summary, these flow bees not the flow bee hair, that's a pretty efficient thing by itself, right? I don't know if anybody used that? Whoa, nice. Do you still have it? I do. That's awesome.
Your hair look as good as his.
So to recharge, to utilize the bed, right? And to get ready for the next day, to regulate your breath, to regulate the flow during the day, and then lastly, to concentrate your light, your energy, your attention, your focus, to be able to do your best work. In closing, I just want to say again to acknowledge the divine light in you and each of you. And we have a tremendous, precious gift within us, and we have many gifts to share to the world, and we can burn brighter and inspire others. So get out there and appreciate it. Namaste.
Thanks, Julian, that was awesome. If anyone would like to get in touch with Julian after today's event, you can simply go to his website, or I'm sure he would be thrilled to speak with you at the after party. So I hope you enjoyed all of this as much as I did. Your next session will be back in here at 3:10. So we get to clear this.
Thank you.
Thank you.